Imagine this. You're living 40,000 years ago. No hospitals, no antibiotics, no painkillers, no ambulances. You're hunting with a group near a forest edge, and suddenly, a massive animal charges. You survive, barely. But your leg is broken, deeply broken. And in the modern world, that would already be terrifying. But in the ancient world, a broken leg could mean something much worse. Not pain, death. Because for most of human history, humans lived one injury away from extinction. And yet, somehow, they survived. Not only survived, they healed injuries that modern scientists still struggle to explain. In 1953, archaeologists discovered the skeleton of an ancient man inside Shanidar Cave in Iraq. At first glance, he shouldn't have been alive long enough to become an adult. His injuries were catastrophic. One arm had been completely crushed. His foot was badly damaged. He was partially blind. And yet, his bones showed something shocking. He had survived for years after the injuries. Years. Which raised an uncomfortable question. How does someone survive in the wild when they can barely walk, hunt, or defend themselves? The answer changed how scientists viewed ancient humans forever, because it suggested something we didn't expect. Ancient humans cared for each other. For a long time, people imagined prehistoric life as brutally simple. Strong survive, weak die. But the bones tell a different story. Again and again, scientists keep finding skeletons with severe injuries that fully healed. Broken femurs, crushed ribs, missing limbs, injuries that would require food, protection, time, care, and in some cases, months of recovery. That means someone else had to carry them, feed them, protect them from predators. Long before civilization, humans were already becoming something unusual, a species that kept weak members alive. But survival wasn't just about kindness. It was also about knowledge. And ancient humans knew far more about medicine than most people realize. In 1991, scientists studying Ötzi the Iceman, a 5,300-year-old frozen body found in the Alps, discovered something strange. He carried pieces of birch fungus tied to his clothing. At first, it looked random, until researchers realized birch fungus has natural antibacterial properties. It can kill parasites. Ötzi may have been carrying medicine 5,000 years ago. And this wasn't isolated. Ancient humans used tree sap as antiseptic, honey on wounds, herbs to reduce pain, moss as primitive bandages. Some indigenous groups even used spider webs to help stop bleeding, because spider silk naturally helps clot blood. None of this came from laboratories. It came from thousands of years of observation, trial, error, and survival. But perhaps the strangest medical practice of all was something called trepanation, which is exactly as horrifying as it sounds. Ancient humans literally drilled holes into human skulls, and we know this happened because archaeologists keep finding skulls with circular holes cut into them. But here's the disturbing part. Many of those skulls show signs of healing, meaning the patient survived, sometimes for years afterward. Nobody knows exactly why they did this. Some scientists think it relieved pressure after head injuries. Others think it was spiritual, an attempt to release evil spirits from the mind. But whatever the reason, it meant ancient humans were performing primitive surgery thousands of years before modern hospitals existed, without anesthesia, without sterile equipment, without understanding germs. And somehow, some patients still lived. But injuries weren't only physical. Ancient humans also faced something much harder to see: fear, trauma, grief. Imagine losing someone in a tiny tribe. There are no therapists, no hospitals, no medication, only silence, firelight, and the people around you. And strangely enough, That may have helped more than we think, because humans evolved in extremely social groups. Isolation was dangerous, connection was survival. Modern studies show social support dramatically improves recovery from injuries and stress. Ancient humans didn't know neuroscience, but they understood something equally important. Nobody survives alone. And this may explain something fascinating about human pain itself. Pain is not just physical, it's deeply psychological. Researchers have found that emotional support can literally reduce perceived pain levels. Your brain changes how pain feels, depending on whether you feel safe, which means around a fire 30,000 years ago, a wounded human surrounded by their tribe may actually have experienced less suffering than someone alone in a modern apartment today. But despite all this, ancient injuries were still terrifying. A simple cut could become fatal. A broken tooth could turn deadly. An infected wound could spread through the body within days. And predators were always nearby. For most humans who ever lived, survival was not normal. It was temporary, which makes one discovery especially strange. Compared to other animals, humans heal unusually well, not physically, socially. A wolf with a broken leg is often abandoned. Humans do something different. We organize around weakness. We protect the injured. We build systems for the vulnerable. Hospitals, medicine, caregiving, entire professions built around keeping strangers alive. And the roots of all of that may have started with tiny prehistoric groups, carrying injured people through forests thousands of years ago. Anthropologist Margaret Mead was once asked what she believed was the first sign of civilization. People expected answers like tools, pottery fire instead. She gave a different answer, a healed femur, because in the wild, a broken leg usually means death. An animal with a broken leg cannot escape predators, gather food, survive long enough to heal. But a healed human femur means something extraordinary happened. Someone stayed, someone helped, someone waited for them to recover. And according to Mead, that was civilization. So when you think about ancient humans, it's easy to imagine brutality, violence, constant struggle. And yes, their world was unimaginably dangerous. But the reason humans survived that world may not have been strength alone. It may have been compassion, because evolution rewards survival. But humans evolved into something stranger, a species willing to spend resources, protecting people who could give nothing back. And that changed everything. It allowed knowledge to survive longer, communities to grow stronger, generations to live long enough to pass information forward. The injured became teachers. The elderly became memory. The weak became part of the tribe, instead of abandoned by it. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived in a world where almost every injury carried the possibility of death, and yet they kept each other alive anyway. Long before cities, long before medicine, long before civilization officially began, humans were already carrying each other through the dark. And maybe that's the real reason our species survived. Not because we were the strongest animals on Earth, but because when one human fell, the others stopped long enough to pick them back up.